श्री महाभारत कथा। श्री महाभारत कथा। महाभारत कथा। कथा है पुरुषार्थ की, ये स्वार्थ की, परमार्थ की, सारथी जिसके बने श्री कृष्ण भारत पाथ की। शब्द दिग्घोषित हुआ जब सत्य सार्थक सर्वथा। शब्द दिग्घोषित हुआ। यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत, अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य, तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्, परित्राणाय साधूनां, विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां, धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे।
And Kasyapa too, thus addressed, spake again unto Takshaka, saying, I go there from desire of wealth. And Kasyapa, that foremost of men, thus addressed by the snake, and receiving from him as much wealth as he desired, wended his way back. And Kasyapa going back, Takshaka, approaching in disguise, blasted with the fire of his poison thy virtuous father, the first of kings, then staying in his mansion with all precautions. And after that, thou wast, O tiger among men, been installed on the throne, and hearing all about the discomfiture of thy royal father, and of the insult to the Rishi Utanka, decide thou that which should follow. King Janamejaya, that chastiser of enemies, then spake unto all his ministers. And he said, When did ye learn all that happened upon that Banian reduced to ashes by Takshaka, and which, wonderful as it is, was afterwards revived by Kasyapa? Assuredly, my father could not have died, for the poison could have been neutralized by Kasyapa with his mantras. That worst of snakes of sinful soul thought within his mind that if Kasyapa resuscitated the king bit by him, he, Takshaka, would be an object of ridicule in the world owing to the neutralization of his poison. I have devised a way, however, of inflicting punishment upon him. I like to know, however, what ye saw or heard, what happened in the deep solitude of the forest, viz., the words of Takshaka and the speeches of Kasyapa. King Janamejaya, that chastiser of enemies, then spake unto all his ministers. The ministers said, Hear, O monarch of him who told us before of the meeting between that foremost Brahmana and that prince of snakes in the woods. King Janamejaya, having listened to the words of his ministers, was sorely afflicted with grief, and began to weep. And possessed with grief and sorrow, and shedding copious tears, and touching water according to the form, the monarch spake. And reflecting for a moment, as if settling something in his mind, the angry monarch, addressing all ministers, said these words, I think no time must be lost in avenging this injury upon the wretch Takshaka that killed my father. I must now avenge myself on my father's enemy to please myself, the Rishi Utanka, and you all. I must avenge myself on the wretch Takshaka who killed my father. Tell me what I must do. Do you know any act by which I may cast into the blazing fire the snake Takshaka with his relatives? There is, O king, a great sacrifice for thee devised by the gods themselves. It is known as the snake sacrifice, and is read of in the Puranas. O king, thou alone canst accomplish it, and no one else. And the monarch then expressed his determination to perform a snake sacrifice. The chief priest answered, "There is, O king, a great sacrifice for thee devised by the gods themselves." They sent Balael. The king then said unto those Brahmanas versed in mantras, "I shall make preparations for that sacrifice." And they know. And the king's Ritviks, O excellent Brahmana, versed in the Vedas and acquainted with the rites of that sacrifice, measured, according to the scriptures, the land for the sacrificial platform. And after the sacrificial platform had been thus constructed, according to rule and as desired, they installed the king at the snake sacrifice for the attainment of its object. Or when the sacrificial platform was being constructed, a professional builder of great intelligence and well versed in the knowledge of laying foundations, a Sutta by caste, well acquainted with the Puranas, said, "The soil upon which and the time at which the measurement for the sacrificial platform has been made indicate that this sacrifice will not be completed, a Brahmana becoming the reason thereof." Hearing this, the king, before his installation, gave orders to his gatekeepers not to admit anybody without his knowledge. The snake sacrifice then commenced according to due form, and the sacrificial priests, competent in their respective duties according to the ordinance, clad in black garments, and their eyes red from contact with smoke, poured clarified butter into the blazing fire, uttering the appropriate mantras, and causing the hearts of all the snakes to tremble with fear. They poured clarified butter into the mouth of Agni, uttering the names of the snakes. And the snakes thereupon began to fall into the blazing fire, benumbed and piteously calling upon one another, and swollen and breathing hard, and twining each other with their heads and tails, they came in large numbers and fell into the fire. The white, the black, the blue, the old and the young, all fell alike into the fire, uttering various cries. Those measuring a krosa, and those measuring a yohana, and those of the measure of a gokarna, fell continuously with great violence into that first of all fires. The snake sacrifice then commenced according to due form, and the sacrificial priests, competent in their respective duties according to the ordinance, clad in black garments and their eyes, red from contact with smoke, poured clarified butter into the blazing fire, uttering the appropriate mantras. The Brahmana Shandabhagava became the Hotri in that sacrifice. He was of great reputation, and was born in the race of Kayavana, and was the foremost of those acquainted with the Vedas. When the Ritviks in that snake sacrifice began to pour clarified butter into the fire, terrible snakes, striking fear into every creature, began to fall into it. Vyasa with his son and disciples, and Udalaka, Pramataka, Swetaketu, Pingala, Asita, Devala, Narada, Parvata, Atreya, Kundadathara, the Brahmana Kalagata, Vatsya, old Srutasravas ever engaged in japa, and the study of the Veda. The fat and the marrow of the snakes thus falling into the fire began to flow in rivers, and the atmosphere was filled with an insufferable stench owing to the incessant burning of the snakes. Meanwhile, Takshaka, that prince of snakes, as soon as he heard that King Janamejaya was engaged in the sacrifice, went to the palace of Purandara, Indra, but Vasuki, seeing that the snakes were incessantly falling into the fire, and that his family was reduced to only a few, became exceedingly sorry. And the king of the snakes was afflicted with great grief, and his heart was about to break. And summoning his sister, he spake unto her, saying, "O amiable one, my limbs are burning, and I no longer see the points of the heavens. The grandsire told me this of old. O best of the women of the snake race, Astika will put an end to the sacrifice that is going on." And the king of the snakes was afflicted with great grief, and his heart was about to break. And summoning his sister, he spake unto her, saying, "O amiable one, my limbs are burning, and I no longer see the points of the heavens." Human. Then the snake dame Jaratkaru, calling her own son, told him the following words according to the directions of Vasuki, the king of the snakes. O son, the time is come for the accomplishment of that object for which I was bestowed on thy father by my brother. Nay, O son, it is said that the mother of all the snakes is Kadru. Know thou why she cursed in anger her sons. Addressing the snakes, she said, As ye have refused to falsely represent Achayasravas, the prince of horses, for bringing about Vinata's bondage according to the wager, therefore shall he whose news charioteer is Vayu burn you all in Janamajaya's sacrifice. The grandsire of all the world spake unto her while uttering this curse, Be it so, and thus approved of her speech. Vasuki, having heard that curse and then the words of the grandsire, sought the protection of the gods, O child, on the occasion when the Amrita was being churned for. And the gods, their object fulfilled, for they had obtained the excellent Amrita, with Vasuki ahead, approached the grandsire. How may his mother's curse prove abortive? Brahman thereupon replied, saying, Jaratkaru will take unto himself a wife of the name of Jaratkaru. The Brahmana born of her will relieve the snakes. Vasuki, the best of snakes, hearing those words, bestowed me, O thou of godlike looks, on thy high-souled father some time before the commencement of the sacrifice. Thus addressed, Astika said unto his mother, Yes, I will. And he then addressed the afflicted Vasuki, and as if infusing life into him said, O Vasuki, thou best of snakes, thou great being, truly do I say, I shall relieve thee from that curse. And Vasuki then said, O Astika, my head swims and my heart breaks. I cannot discern the points of the earth, as I am afflicted with a mother's curse. And Astika said, Thou best of snakes, it behoveth thee not to grieve any longer. I shall dispel this fear of thine from the blazing fire, this terrible punishment, capable of burning like the fire at the end of the yuga, I shall extinguish. Nurse not thy fear any longer. Niam, naus, nitshite. Hence on serious occasions like this, I need not say anything more, O uncle. Going thither today I shall gratify, with words mixed with blessings, the monarch Janamejaya installed at the sacrifice, so that, O excellent one, the sacrifice may stop.